thing you're hiding from is really the thing in front of you, but the person in front of you is always the one paying for it. The one that you carry, that you care about the most, which is what? Your wife, your kids. So I almost lost my wife, Allie, before we ever even had our sons. Not because she ran out of love for me, because I had not done the work on the man she fell in love with. I had not actually become the person who she fell in love with. And we've talked a lot about that. And the things I was hiding from were going to cost me really the most important relationship I ever had. So to give you an idea, she heard me, we met on Instagram, but she heard me speak on a believe it or not, a radio show. We call it a podcast, but back then it was a radio show. And she said she could hear the man that I really was, like the authentic version of me. But the problem is what I was portraying and the things I was saying was not what I was living back then. And so when we met, I put on a really good face. And she really could see the man that I was, the man that I am today, and the man that I was going to become. But man, there was so much stuff from my past that I was living and things that I was distracting in. And so I brought a lot to that relationship, like so many do, right? But before I even believed in myself, she believed in me, right? And now she's, the CMO of Johnny Slicks. She's the mother of our 2 sons. She's the partner I get to build everything else around. Very few people get a shot at a relationship like this, and I almost wasted mine. And the reality is, like, she wasn't the problem in this story. She really was the gift, and as a man who almost did not know what to do with that gift, and it really is the truth. And I knew that, like, I wanted to be in this, but I really did almost blow it. And look, we all do it. And unfortunately, this is like a lot of new relationships that could be really healthy are sabotaged from the past and from past traumas and past relationships and things that you bring into the new one that don't really belong there. So I had really walked into this new relationship dragging a duffel bag of stuff that I really hadn't unpacked. A divorce, a custody fight, years of time in the military, then contracting work, and a version of myself I did not like and had not been honest with. And hence the reason for, like, the excessive drinking and the distractions. And I told myself I had done the work, and I had not. I had been surviving, and I had been distracting, and we call it now adult adolescence. I'm an adult, I'm freshly divorced, so I'm just like doing anything that makes me feel good, right? And that is not the same thing as healing. That's not the same thing as growing and doing the hard stuff or dealing with the hard stuff. So you can survive your past and still be unfit to be loved well by the person standing in front of you right now, because of you not dealing with that stuff. So we have, I had several different problems, right? So what was I doing in this brand new relationship that had a lot of potential? So what I did was I threw myself into my work, right? Completely. Like, I was a workaholic. Everything. And what's crazy is, like, that business wasn't even at the size to be a workaholic. Now, knowing what I know now, there's so many different things that I could do smarter versus harder. But I'm like, what looked like discipline, what looked like ambition is really, or looking like a man that's trying to build his business, which I was actually a man that would rather be working at 9 p.m. than having a hard conversation with her at 6 or 7 p.m. talking about the things in my life that I was going through my head, and that's a problem, right? So here we are, like, her and I, growing these businesses and scaling these businesses. And there was just always another reason for me to be on my laptop versus investing in our relationship. Because if I had to invest in my relationship, that means I had to be honest with her and open about the things that were going through my head. And I would much rather just distract that and work than to deal with those things. Because as a man, you just bury all that shit down and you don't talk about it, especially with your loved ones. And So nonetheless, I chose work over her so many times. And then I just said, you know, I'm unavailable, basically, and I would make myself unavailable. So, and then of course, there's like this underneath line that if I stop producing, this belief that if I stop producing, then I'm not valuable. So I never stopped, and like, because as a man's supposed to produce, right? So now I have to, the woman that I love and I want to be with for the rest of my life is competing with a Google Calendar that, let's be real, like is being built specifically to keep her at an arm's length, so I don't have to deal with the emotional side of things, right? Which comes into like the point two, is really the emotional unavailability as a defense mechanism. So when things get too hard, I would just shut down or go quiet, or I would get super tactical because I didn't want to deal with the hard emotions. I treat the relationship like an objective that needs to be managed instead of just a person that wants to be loved, right? I'm trying to manage a relationship versus being in one that is reciprocal. And, you know, relationships aren't built off performance. They're built off of love and care. And, you know, there's not a 50-50 thing, because I might be 90% one day and she's 10, and the next day I might be 10 and I need her to be 90, and that's really what it is. And so nonetheless, if she was upset about something, I would want to solve things, and I would do and say whatever that it is to make that issue go away. If she was sad, I'd want to fix it, right? If she needed me to sit there and just be with her, I have no idea what to do with that, and most men don't. So I would just be like, okay, like if you don't have something for me to solve, then I'm out and I'm going to go work. And you guys have been around long enough, you know that doesn't work. So 12 years of the military and operating in special operations taught me how to suppress my feelings and go execute, because my feelings are invalid of what the mission needs to do, right? So I brought that into my next marriage, which is the wrong skill set for that. Like, you know, suppressing and executing is not what it is. So again, another limiting belief that I had is if I feel it, I lose control. So I just feel nothing on purpose and then call it strength, right? It's not strength. It's the cheapest version of strength a man can perform. It's bullshit. So you know, point three really here is the old anger patterns leaking out, and I don't mean by yelling or being physical. It's almost worse in a way. The short answer, the cold pauses, the eye roll, the hard sighs, the sarcasm, the things that cut like a velvet dagger. And a lot of that comes from anger not being processed from 20 years ago or however long, that's now leaking out on the woman who deserved it the least, as she has nothing to do with it. She wasn't there at the past, but she's getting the, you know, the bill for the damage that she has nothing to do with, because, you know, you or me are completely incapable or not strong enough to handle our own shit and deal with it like a man, right? And I don't mean by a man like as endearing. I mean like having the balls to actually deal with your nonsense. So now here I am, like, if I can't do that, because if I let my guard down, someone's going to use it against me. She might use it against me. But Allie had given me zero evidence of that. Like, I treated her like she had done this already to me, when all she had done is given me everything that I want and just want to be with me and love me. And so what do we do in the midst of this? Instead of going into it and having the balls to confront our past and deal with it and put it at bay and put our traumas at bay, and whatever the thing is that I'm talking about for you, is we just distract 100%, whatever it may be. So we go to work, we shut down emotionally, we put on different faces. We're one place at work, one place at home, one with our friends. But at the end of the day, all three for me were distraction, and all three were a way not to look at what I was actually carrying. It was just put it away and let me continue to drive forward. And what that does is it doesn't allow all my limiting beliefs to announce themselves and show up the right way. and for me to deal with them. So they show up as like, well, I'm being productive, and I'm being super disciplined, and they show up as me being too busy or too capable to be in my own life, and that's what, you know, that's the part that most men miss. The thing you're hiding from is really the thing in front of you, but the person in front of you is always the one paying for it, the one that you carry, that you care about the most, which is what? Your wife, your kids. They end up paying the bill for your BS. So for me, it just came down to a really emotional pivot point where she kind of, in a way, gave me an ultimatum, and she like, we need to figure out if we want the same things, and I did want the same things. I really, really did, and I kept telling her that, and it's like, but saying that, and then my actions said two different things. And it wasn't really a, you know, even though we do argue and fight, like this one wasn't. It wasn't a yelling. It wasn't necessarily a direct threat. It was just, and she wasn't a list of demands. She said, we need to figure out if this is what you want, and actions speak louder than words, right? So it's like, get your shit together, or like, I don't want to be in a relationship with you that if you don't want that. And I was verbally saying that I wanted it, but my actions weren't backing up what I was saying. And again, it wasn't manipulation. It was a boundary that she set and said, listen, here's the boundary. If you want to be with me, then this is what I require. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it was a hard place for me to be, because this is what I did want, but that means I had to deal with all the things that I didn't want to deal with. It meant that I had to not allow the distractions of, you know, alcohol, you know, doom scrolling, you know, pouring myself into work with real no ROI, just working hard to say that I'm working hard, not actually working hard to get a result. And so that was a hard conversation and sentence to hear from a woman who has loved me unconditionally, and somebody who I want to be with, and I don't want to lose. So the reality is, what I had to admit was that she was right. And that alone took longer than it should have. And it shouldn't take really dramatic events with somebody dying or something, you know, or her pulling an ultimatum to get you to change. You should change because you want to be the very best version of yourself. And then it took way too long. And because of that, it created a lot of, you know, history and damage in our early years of our relationship. And so the second thing is none of the things I was doing were going to fix this. The more work would not fix it. Going harder at the gym wasn't going to fix it. Reading another book on how to fix it isn't going to fix it. Like what fix it is removing these limiting beliefs that I've been talking about, and actually dealing, you know, confronting the stuff that I had been running from, and communicating it with her as well. I mean, this is a relationship of a woman I'm supposed to be with for the rest of my life, and I'm not even talking to her about the things that are keeping me distracted, right? And then putting those limiting beliefs away. So if you're telling yourself that you can't be this version of yourself for whatever reason, and you're giving these excuses, like that's an old story that's creating a lie for you. And I did it the same. I did the same exact thing. But I had to confront that I could do all these different things, and that I can be successful, and I don't have to work like a workaholic to be successful. Like you can, you know, the whole, was it Dan Hardy and what's his name? 10X is better than 2X. You know, there's so much out there. But anyways, my point being is like, we have to remove these limiting beliefs that this prior stories are telling us. And as soon as I started to confront those things and saying that I do have enough time and I have the capability to do it, and I changed all the excuses into positive affirmations, then everything turns around. And it says, and you know, so like one of them is, if I stop producing, I'm not valuable. That's false. If I feel this emotion, then I lose control. That's false. You're allowed to feel things. If I let my guard down, someone's going to use if I let my guard down in front of her, she's going to use it against me. Not if she's a good woman, absolutely not. Especially with her, it's completely false. But once you name the belief, you can actually fight it. So once you actually put words to it, well, now you have a different perspective of it. But until you can name it, until you can put your finger on it, it's going to run you. And the next thing is I let her be a partner instead of an audience to my life. Stop performing for her and started being known by her, like actually communicate, like this is what things are going on. Those are two different very things. Like, you know, one, you're playing house with somebody and you have a roommate, or you have a partner that you can communicate with. Most men do the first, they don't do the second. And then of course, 3, this is clear as day, like the hormone panel, and the physical work, like making sure your blood work is where it's at, doing the brain clinic stuff, making sure you're getting the sleep, make sure your body is optimal. If you're drinking, put that shit away. August for me will be 7 years. Because again, it was a distraction. It was a self-medicating way of me not dealing with the shit that I needed to deal with. So like when all of this started to align, when drinking stopped, when, you know, I got my diet in check, I actually did become consistent in my habits. And it wasn't just talk. It was actually my physically, habitually doing the things that I was actually talking about, having the hard conversations, going to the gym, eating the right foods, not giving in to comfort and choosing hard over easy. That's when things started to change. It was like, that was the physical and mental work that I needed to be done. And then 4, like actual brotherhood, like being more open with the men in my life of where I was at, and not having like group text that we were just sending memes and like bodies and just having buddies, but the men who could hear me say, you know, hey, listen, I almost lost Allie, and you know, and they don't flinch, right? They're like, yeah, dude, I can see that. You know, men who could call me out on my limiting beliefs, and I've had those people. I said, hey, this is the thing that I believe. One of the things was I could be successful, but again, I had to work 10 times harder than the man next to me to get that same success. And so when I call that out, they're just like, dude, that's the most ridiculous thing that I ever heard. There's, you know, you're successful by systems and processes, not by working hard. And, you know, and I was just like, well, I just got to work 10 times harder than everybody around me. And it's just simply not the case. But what happens is the more I say that, the more that you manifest your own reality. And so like I created a group of men around me and utilized those people that I was holding back to be more honest and ones that could hold me accountable. And they did. And so at the end of the day, the relationship was not the test. I was the test. I needed to be tested. Allie was just a person standing close enough to fall in on it. And the reality is, she did not need me to be a military recon Marine, you know, Marine Raider at home. She needed me to be present. She needed me to be knowable to her, willing to look at what I had been refusing to look at. You know, and the reality is when that happens, when I just, you know, submit to that and become more vulnerable, and, you know, life opened up. And now we have 2 sons, we have a booming business, we have a life that we are able to go on. Like, we just go on so many trips a year. I mean, it's actually life. It's not that it's not hard. I'm not saying that it's super easy. It's just super valuable. And now that I have all of this, it's like for the first time in my life, I have something to lose. And so like now when you have something to lose, you make different decisions, because this life is so incredibly amazing. And I would not be the man talking to you if I did not do that hard work and she had not been willing to leave and set those boundaries. So I hope that all of you find that kind of partner that's worth fighting for, because the most important thing that we can do, the most important choice that we can do in our life is choose who the woman is standing next to us. That is the one thing that will completely change your life, and it's changed my life. So anyways, guys, the Agoge exists because most men in this community don't have the structure for this type of work. You have like casual buddies, and they have a wife who is hoping that they'll figure this out. They have a list of books that they've read but not implemented, because now you have info obesity and application anorexia, and what you don't have is a system. 12 months, 4 phases, brotherhoods that you can hear truth, it holds you accountable, that actually has stakes. So what I would like to give you guys is a link to the limiting beliefs course. So like if you can do this one thing, if you can just take this self-assessment, go through the limiting beliefs course, it's completely free, and hopefully it helps you like it helped me. put those things to bed and become the version of the man that you know that you're supposed to be, that you're capable of being, but we just have too much weight in front of us. So that link's below. It's completely free. Go through it. It doesn't take long. They're like 5 to 7 minute videos, and you can do them once a day and then be done in a week. But that's it, guys. That's there for you. I wish you the best, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. Remember to like it. Remember to drop me a comment. I want to respond to it. I'm actually the one responding to the comments. And if you like this video, you're going to absolutely love this one right here.